Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and Master Certified Life Coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today's episode is all about adult ADHD in midlife. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle with over 2 million downloads and counting. This show is for women over 50 who are starting to feel time differently and want to stop coasting through life. Each episode helps you notice what's really going on in your life, recognize the moments that matter, and begin choosing your next chapter more intentionally. Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your Master Certified Coach, Life Leadership Mentor, and Certified Zentangle Teacher, and I am so happy to be here with you. Now, on that note, just quick, I want to make sure you know how I can help you also have an important shift in your life with Zentangle and mindful doodling in the Midlife Doodle Think Club. Doodle Think is a mindful doodling practice where you simply notice your mind in real time while you're having fun doodling. Before you know it, you've created a calming space to think and you've come home to yourself. No art skills needed. Get details at www.doodlethink.com. Okay, now let's dive in. As I mentioned today, we're talking about adult ADHD. That stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And in midlife, it seems like it's becoming more common. A diagnosis as an adult can actually feel like a relief. My guest today is ADHD coach and professional organizer, Robynne Pendaries. Robynne received her degree in child psychology from Tufts University in Boston and then moved to Paris in 1989. She worked for 10 years as a fashion buyer in Paris and subsequently raised her 2 children while managing her husband's career as a professional golf player. Robynne spent the next 8 years perfecting her organizing skills in her own home, and she came to realize how passionate organizing had become for her. During a get-together with some friends, she had her aha moment. I love a good aha moment. And she decided to start her business in 2006 as a professional organizer in France. A strong interest in adults and neurodivergent brains led Robynne to the next chapter of her professional career as an ADHD coach. She completed an ICF-accredited 12-month program designed to be a perfect marriage between professional organizing and ADHD coaching. Robynne is an active member of Message Support Group, Association for American Women in Europe, Federation of American Women's Clubs Overseas, and Cancer Support France. ADHD is something that more and more midlife women are talking about, so I know you're going to get a lot out of this episode. Please remember, the information shared in this podcast is intended for your convenience, entertainment, and education, and isn't geared to your personal situation. It's not a replacement for care or advice from your own medical professional. So as always, you may have some things you want to follow up on, so please seek a suitable professional to advise you on your personal situation. Hi, Robynne. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Women in the Middle podcast.
Hey, Susie, thank you for having me. Very excited.
I'm so glad you're here. So I love to start these conversations off about talking a little bit about what was going on for you in your 40s, what were you doing, and kind of how this all happened for you. And then we'll dive into all the details about ADHD in adults.
In my 40s, I was not in the ADHD world. In my 40s, actually, I had started my own company here in Paris, France, where I've been living my whole adult life. And I'd started my own company as a professional organizer. So most people know Marie Kondo, and I was going into people's homes and offices and helping them to declutter and then reorganize their space. And it started very organically and grew very organically. I was working here with lots of expats and lots of interesting people. And and I was really, really enjoying it, feeling very useful and feeling very helpful to people. Well, I'm sure we'll touch on that later. That was kind of a thread that has been going on through my life. So yes, basically in my 40s, I had started on the road of entrepreneurship and really liked that much better than being an employee, actually.
Wow. Now, you did say that didn't last forever. So when did you start to realize that you wanted a little bit more?
I don't know that it was a realization that I wanted more. I don't think it was that kind of itch. I think um, after a couple of years of working as a professional organizer, I started to realize that there were some people in my client base that just related to their stuff differently, to their time, to their paperwork, to their emotions, everything. It was like everything was just a little bit different, but I didn't know why. And I couldn't put my finger on it, and I didn't know what that meant. And then about 15 years ago, which was just the beginning of ADHD being recognized here in France amongst adults, and the beginning of medication for ADHD for adults becoming legal. So it was just right at the beginning. And there was a man, an entrepreneur, who called me and said, I have ADHD and I'm taking this medication and I need your help with my paperwork. And that just put it on the map for me. And then I felt like, wow, I once I knew what it was and put my finger on it, then I could see it everywhere in most of my clients, in my husband as well, too. And then fast forward to my daughter. So I did become an expert at recognizing it, even though most of the time I would keep that to myself, but suggest to people to get an assessment.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating that you'd noticed that there were, maybe two different main categories of clients coming into your world. And you started to notice that there was, what would you describe it? A challenge, a struggle that people had with their things and basic stuff, tasks. Like, how would you describe it?
Well, I mean, yes, because the basis of, or from what we know now about ADHD, is a challenge mostly with executive functions. And the executive functions are in the prefrontal lobe of the brain, and it's organizing, time management, impulse control, um, delegating, collaborating, uh, just the whole gamut of everything that you think that we have to do in our daily lives in order to get things done, basically. And so I realized that that's where the challenge was coming. And it was basically that everything that I had learned about organizing, it was just turned upside down. And everything that worked with clients up until then, it was almost like I had to do the opposite in order to make it work.
So, can you give me an example? Would it typically happen in somebody's office or bedroom or kitchen? Like, give me a typical example of when you're noticing something and there was a discussion. What did it sound like?
Well, I mean, what comes to mind is paperwork, which is, something that a lot of people are allergic to, whether they have ADHD or not, right? Administrative adult homework. And so that's what I like to call it. Uh, let's say that I don't know if this is the case, but let's say for somebody who is what we call neurotypical and not neurodivergent, somebody would have a filing cabinet. And in those filing cabinets, it might be alphabetical, it might not be, but in the filing cabinets, there would be labels. And when you would receive a piece of paper, you would put it in your filing cabinet, ideally. Okay. Or at least you would know where to put it. Somebody with ADHD has difficulty with working memory and short-term memory. So very often I would go into their homes or into their offices and everything would be in piles and it would be laid out. And as soon as they put something away in a filing cabinet or behind closed doors, let's just say, it disappeared out of their memory. And they forgot about it and they couldn't act on it or they didn't remember what it was. So that was really strange to me. I couldn't understand why, if you put something in the filing cabinet and there's a label there, why would you not be able to retrieve it?
You're totally talking to me. I mean, I am the person with the piles, and that's exactly how I describe putting it away.
We call them doom piles.
They do. Well, right now there's two of them to my left, and one is getting kind of tall, like dangerously tall.
It's time, Susie.
I know what's in that pile. It just, if there was an earthquake, we'd be in big trouble.
I don't think there's going to be an earthquake in Canada, but I know what you're saying.
And what else would you see? So that's like admin kind of things. Does it show up in closets with clothing or bedding, or what other ways do you see it that's kind of obvious?
Yeah, I mean, well, you don't even need to go into the closet to see it. It would be almost like walking right in. Like if you walk into somebody's bedroom, there would be things on the floor like dirty tissues or just stuff. I can't even, just various stuff that people would find in a bedroom or leave next to their bed. Very often it would be on the floor as opposed to other surfaces.
Hey, that's
And
not me.
so
That's not me.
that's good. And so what I found so interesting was as much as we take in our information visually, it was as if these people were just walking over their stuff and they just didn't even notice it. And that also was something very odd to me. And I had to act like if I'm with them in the bedroom, I almost had to act like it wasn't there because I didn't want them to feel shame or feel embarrassment. But they didn't because they didn't really see the mess.
Interesting.
So that was fascinating too. So just through those experiences, I came to be curious about what is going on and what is different and how can I help these people differently, actually.
So what happened for you then to go from professional organizer who now has increased awareness of ADHD to somebody who wants to focus on it big time?
So my first impetus was again, seeing it all around me. My professional organizing business was going very well. So it wasn't as if I had this, itch to do something different. But my motivation actually came from within my family. So my husband, I had been trying to convince, or that it's to make him understand that I was convinced that he had ADHD. And then I recognized it in my daughter. And this was just before she was getting ready to go off to college in the States. So we're in France and she was going to the States. And she was officially assessed with ADHD. And I knew that she was going to be on her own and it was going to be very challenging for her. So she went to the university in the States. And after about a month or two, she said to me, Mom, I have started working with an ADHD coach. And I was like, oh, wow, tell me about it. And she said, it's so helpful working on my executive function skills and how to organize my schedule and how to be on time and et cetera, et cetera. And as she was explaining this to me and with so much enthusiasm, I was thinking, could totally do that. And then my next thought was, I already actually do that. I've been doing it with my husband. I've been doing it with my daughter. I've been doing it with my clients. And I thought I wanted to pursue this. So I actually looked up on the internet and found a training program for professional organizers to become ADHD coaches.
You're
and
kidding
it sounds
me.
like no, and it sounds like this tiny, tiny little niche, but it's not. And it was totally tailored to me. It was like the perfect match of those two things. And I didn't understand the connection when I started, and I didn't know actually where I wanted it to take me or where it was going to take me. But I just felt like listen to my intuition, which I'm not usually in touch with. I'm more in my head rather than in my gut. And so I just thought this is something that I want to pursue. And I did it, and I just knew after very short amount of time, things just felt like that they were falling into place, and I was where I wanted to be.
I love that. So something that comes up all the time in the podcast in my community is where people have this insight or awareness that something that they have something already, that they've always been attracted to it. And it's just the courage to do something with it. Like it's a creative new idea, a new awareness that has roots and seeds in your life. And I'm always saying to my clients, it's just doing the next best thing. You don't need to figure out all the things you're going to do, but you knew that you were curious and you wanted to learn more. And then you did the next best thing and then the next best thing. And it kind of led you in that direction. And I know from your notes that you were curious about child psychology back in the day, back in university. So there's always this little curiosity about behavior that was in you from the start. And I noticed that in your notes, and then I noticed it also in my life, being focused on also psychology and behavior change. And with me, I was more interested in group behavior than in individual behavior. That's how I started. But the curiosity was there, and especially how people make change and, and all the fear that's involved with it. Now, in your case, that moment where you realize that not only could you train to help people in this way, but also your background has been highlighted as a cohort or a group of people that enjoy or want to pursue this because it's coming up all the time for them. So if you just look at that little blip there, you had enough courage to make a change in a successful business. And then as you got more and more comfortable with your direction, it sounded like it's not in person anymore. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's a giant shift for people.
It was a giant shift, especially because I am very much a people person and I'm very touchy-feely with people. So I like to be in the room. I like to touch people. Whether they like it or not is another issue, but that is a real need for me, actually. And so, and maybe that's why on some level, I mean, I never thought about this, but maybe that's why I actually did not make the shift, or it wasn't abrupt from being a professional organizer to being an ADHD coach. Traditionally, coaching before Zoom and all this was over the phone, and then it became online. And I do feel it has definitely been an adjustment. And I don't want to say force myself because it's not forcing myself, but I have to make more of an effort, let's say, to get out, whether it be to exercise, to see other people, just other humans in the street, to meet with friends. It's more of an effort. Whereas before it was built into my day that I was with other people. And now I have to make the effort to build it in to my day.
Yeah. Oh, I totally know what you mean. Like all of a sudden, I'm really gabby at the grocery store because I don't get out much. I'm like, who can I talk to? Who can I talk to? Yeah. I also started out on the phone, and it's amazing. I remember thinking, wow, I can't believe that I can really help people to this level without even seeing a picture,
Seeing them.
without having any clue uh, what you look like or whatever. And then Zoom started, and I was very hesitant to start Zoom because I thought, wow, it's going to make people a little bit more uncomfortable. Did you notice that too?
I didn't notice that. I'd be interested to know, how you made that transition from just the audio to the video as well. I I only once did a coaching call where we both turned off because there wasn't enough bandwidth. And so we both turned off the video. And I found that it was so easy for me to zone in, easier even, because all you have is the auditory element that's coming in and you don't have the visual element. However, for my clients with ADHD, they say that when they turn off the camera and they're not looking at me, that they're less engaged.
Wow.
So they're less able to concentrate for the session. So that's an important element, right?
Yeah, really important. Well, at the beginning I would just have a conversation that you could turn the video off if you're more comfortable. But
Right.
then people are more and more comfortable with Zoom now. So
That's
it
true.
doesn't come up as much. And in fact, being on Zoom so much has helped me realize that sometimes I need to look at a mirror before I hop on Zoom. I mean, I know it's midlife and everything, but twice I have three mirrors now at my desk, and twice I found there was a little bit of food on my face, or you needed to go in the mirror and just check your teeth or whatever. And and I don't know, my dog's not telling me that there's something on my face, so I've been able to catch it. But you watch yourself so much more than ever before. We're looking at ourselves.
That's
That
true.
that was a weird adjustment for me. In fact, at the beginning of COVID, I remember somebody saying um, that you probably touch your face way more than you know at the very beginning of COVID. And then I started looking at that, watching for that on Zoom, and oh my God, I touched my face a lot. There was some research. I forget how many times the average person touches their face in an hour, but anyway, that was a transition. But it's fascinating that it is very relevant for you. It's a better form of coaching, a format for coaching, because it helps your clients be more engaged.
Yeah, I mean that's one of many specificities of ADHD coaching as opposed to what you're doing, general
Hmm.
life coaching, for sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about the difference between ADD and ADHD? I know there's been a change over the years since we were kids.
Sure, sure. In the official manual, which is called the DSM now, they only call it ADHD, and there's a reason for that. The powers that be believe that now anybody who has this disorder actually has the H, which stands for the hyperactivity. It's just that Sometimes it shows on the outside, which historically were boys bouncing off the walls and, being all over the place. And as the definition of the disorder has evolved, they've realized that they don't need to separate it anymore into ADD or ADHD, into inattentive, hyperactive, etc. Everybody, as far as the psychiatrists are concerned, everybody has ADHD. And very often with women, the hyperactivity is on the inside. It's both in a woman's brain and or in her body. And she feels it and she knows it, but she has been able to compensate and mask for it. Compensate for it, excuse me, and mask as well, too.
Uh-huh.
So that's why now we just say ADHD.
Okay, so what's going on with all these later in life diagnosed women with ADHD? Because as I mentioned at the beginning, it's coming up a lot in my community with my friend group. And after our conversation, I'm also seeing I probably could use a diagnosis.
An assessment.
An assessment, well, right, an assessment.
It's related to what I was saying before. First of all, the definition has changed, has evolved. And there's going to be a new manual actually coming out probably in the next 2 years, whereby they're going to include in that definition emotion regulation, because emotion regulation is an executive function skill. And it is especially for women and our hormones, which evolve over the course of the month and of our lives. It really is a big part of ADHD. So that as the definition of a disorder or of an illness or of anything changes and becomes bigger or more specific, you're going to have less people that fall through the cracks, and it's going to be more specific. And a big reason why these girls are called the lost generation now for ADHD, because the girls have fallen through the cracks and have now become women, and they've been masking and they've been compensating and they fell through the cracks because nobody was noticing them, because we learn in society that we should be proper, that we should be calm, that we should be nice, good little girls. And whereas the boys, if they're bouncing off, the walls, oh, that's just boy behavior. That's just typical boy behavior, typical kid behavior. So all of those girls that were in school, within the past 50 years, now they're getting diagnoses. And they're getting diagnoses. This is a very positive thing, by the way. And a lot of women are getting diagnoses not necessarily to even get any kind of treatment, any kind of medical treatment. It's just to know, oh, that's why I felt different. Oh, that's why this is challenging for me. Oh, that's why it's hard for me to manage my emotions. So it's a whole reckoning that comes with a lot of other feelings, when the diagnosis falls. But it can actually be something that's very a big relief for women.
Yeah, I can see that. Why would somebody be seeking an assessment? Why would it be? Is it like they've just heard some of their friends talking about it, or something maybe has become a problem, or maybe with menopause it came up? What are you noticing where somebody might go, oh, maybe I should go talk to somebody about that?
Well, I mean, you mentioned menopause. There are a lot of women who are diagnosed during menopause. And just to be really, really, really simple, just keep it really simple. At menopause, our estrogen drops to almost nothing, to a very low level. And estrogen and dopamine are linked in the sense that when estrogen drops, dopamine drops. And if you have low dopamine, if you have ADHD, that's going to exacerbate the characteristics of the ADHD even more. And so there are women who arrive at menopause and their cognitive functioning is so screwy, I want to use the word to cite one of my clients, that some of my clients actually believe that they have a brain tumor or believe that they have Alzheimer's, early Alzheimer's. And so the fact that they get an assessment and somebody says, no, it's not a brain tumor, it's not Alzheimer's, it's not bipolar disorder, it's not anxiety disorder, it's not depression, it's actually ADHD, that's a huge relief most of the time.
Right.
So I always say knowledge is power. So if somebody like you or somebody else does have, is asking themselves that question, why not go get the assessment? If you're able to afford it and to spend the time doing it, why not? That's what I like to say to people.
Now, what do you think the difference is between somebody who just has a lot of piles, but not tissues on the floor, and somebody who has an assessment, like is that likely to lead to that, or is there a lot more involved?
Well, this is the tricky thing about ADHD assessments also too. And this is why you have to be careful because there are psychiatrists that you can go to and within 10 minutes, according to what you tell them, they'll give you a diagnosis and write you a prescription for medication. So that's not the way it should go down. Just telling you. It's not the way it goes down here in France, but in America, that is happening more and more. So one of the big differences in what one of the questions in the assessment process is, how long has this been going on? And if you can identify that's been going on since childhood, and one of the big criteria is, do you suffer from this? Like, is this a problem for you? And if it's not a problem for you that you had these doom piles, then it's not a problem, right? But it's hard to put it's hard for people to put their fingers on it because your brain and my brain and people's, everybody's brains, we all have the same components. We all have these executive functions, right? We all have the organizing part of the brain. We all have the time management part of the brain. It's just that some people's are wired differently, or some people's brains have different levels of dopamine. So that plays out, I guess, in your environment and how you interact with your environment and how you create a life that fits, or you create a life that is stressful and that doesn't work for you. So it's more through the interview process, and also looking back at your grades at school and the comments that the teachers are writing about you and talking to your parents. And I mean, there are attention tests, but that's in addition to these interviews and other ways of getting information. But it's not clear cut, the assessment
Yeah. No, I can see that. And menopause alone makes things very complicated and not clear cut.
Join the club, yes.
Yeah, for sure. So what kind of doctors or clinicians give the assessment? Do you start with your family doctor?
So it's different from country to country. So whoever is listening in whatever country you're in, just Google it or chat GPT it. But in general, in most countries, it's either a psychiatrist or a psychologist. In the United States, it is also the general practitioners that can diagnose, and nurse practitioners as well too that can diagnose. So there are the most options, I would say, in the United States. There are the most options for treatment also too, and there are the most options for medication out there as opposed to other countries.
And what kind of things happen when you do get a diagnosis and take some action, like get some treatment, get suggestions and the kind of support that is really helpful for you? What might you notice once you have it all cleared up in your mind as to how you need support?
Well, I mean, what I like to say, and this is how coaching comes into play, is that we create awareness and then we take action and then we learn. Okay, so that's the coaching process. So what would be essential and what would be ideal in the coaching process is if people are able to rewire their brains. And this is called neuroplasticity. And when people are coming to coaching, they need to believe actually that is true, that they weren't just born with something, or their brain, is unfixable, right? So you have to believe that you can change your habits, that you can change the way you're thinking. You can, change the way you think about yourself and the way that you think about your life, and create a life that fits you. And that's something that is more positive, so that you are not swimming upstream anymore. So that's like, the overarching changes that hopefully people are able to make. And that's not just with coaching, it's also with therapy, potentially with medication as well too, and working with a professional organizer as well. Be very helpful.
Wow. So what you said, that people can stop swimming upstream, would you say that is a really common way that people feel when they have ADHD and they don't really appreciate what it is?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the metaphors that comes up in coaching when I talk with my clients. Another metaphor that's interesting, if you want to talk about how people feel, is this idea of being in a car and who is the driver. Okay. So most of the people say, my ADHD is driving the car and I'm in the passenger seat. Some people say, my ADHD is driving the car and I'm in the back seat. And then some people say, and this is the more extreme because ADHD is a spectrum, just like the autism spectrum. So for the more extreme cases, people might say, the ADHD is driving the car and I am locked in the trunk.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So that's also a metaphor. But yes, it's this feeling of not being in control, right? That somebody else or that your brain is in control, but it's not you. Like somebody else is driving and controlling your brain. Yes. And so to gain back that control, to feel like you are swimming with ease and not swimming upstream, swimming downstream.
Right.
Definitely those are some of the metaphors that come up. Absolutely.
Wow, I'm just really appreciating the relief that you must feel when you do get a diagnosis later in life. It just must make it so much easier to put some of the puzzle pieces together as you think about your life and you think about so what support you need to be successful around your desk, in your bedroom, in life, because there's so many things that require planning and organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, that's the thing about, again, coaching is creating that awareness, right? So it's talking about who are the people around you? Are they supporting you? Are they hindering you? Right? The environment, talk about your desk. Are there doom piles everywhere or is it organized? There's all these kinds of things that can be explored in coaching to help people feel that they gain back the control and that their brain is working for them and not working against them. And it
Right.
is possible and there is help out there, and it's important for people to get that help and not feel shamed or not feel like they can just go at it on their own.
Right, right. Wow. I'm kind of feeling grateful that I was born in 1963 and not 1983, for example, because it sounds like overall awareness at the professional level has really come alive about ADHD. What would you say, the last 10 years, 20 years? When did you really start to see a change?
Oh gosh, I mean, in France, it's for adults, it's the past 5 or 10 years. And I
Wow.
would say, I mean, we are definitely behind the United States and potentially Canada, by probably 20 years, I would say. Yeah. But the good news is we're going in the right direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, and I bet those organizing stores are making money after related to all. You do have the organizing stores in France too?
We don't. And if I had a dollar for every time one of my organizing clients would say to me, Robynne, you need to bring that over here to France, I would be a millionaire. Seriously. No, we just have IKEA. No, no, very, very sad second to the organizing store.
Oh boy. Well, IKEA is pretty fun, but I can absolutely, like, you go into one of those organizing stores and I don't know why it's so exciting, but it is. And it's very exciting knowing that people have been paying attention to creating products and storage containers and things that are really useful. It's kind of overwhelming, but I just yeah, it's interesting. They don't have that kind of stuff in France. So, do you bring them over or do you just suffer?
Well, frankly, I don't think about that as much anymore. And I do some organizing online with my coaching clients as well too. But I'm very interested in recycling. So I'm not going to say to them, go out to IKEA and buy all of these containers, see what you have first. Because it's very much about like when I was working with my as a professional organizer, first you declutter and then you reorganize. So very often in the decluttering process, people would find empty containers and they would get rid of the stuff. So yeah, so that's like a little add-on service that I do provide with my coaching because it is an important element. It is this what we're calling the supportive environment, right? How you relate to your stuff, how you relate to your paperwork, how you relate to the environment around you. It's important.
Well, and digital decluttering is a whole separate thing now that
Oh gosh.
as
Yeah.
the women our age are like, what? So many of us have to deal with that too. And it's interesting. I have a group called Women in the Middle Academy, and once a year we do a declutter challenge. And I do prizes and stuff, and the prizes are just for participating, and it's a random draw. But it people have so much fun posting their progress and the thing that they're working on. And the encouragement is very motivating. So we
Yeah.
just finished it. It was in April, and it was a lot of fun. Some of the ladies tackled big projects like attic or basement stuff that, that you've never unpacked from a move. And another one was, 20 or 30 years of stuff in storage. And then little projects too, like just clearing a bedside table. The project I took on was the desk in the kitchen. And desks in kitchens don't seem to be as important anymore because laptops are so portable. But when we designed the kitchen, I thought having a desk in the kitchen was going to be the smartest thing ever. And what it is just a place to put stuff in a pile. Not that helpful.
Tell me something. Were you guys doing that challenge online live? Everybody was doing the same activity at the same time.
Yeah, it was the month of April. So I posted some mindfulness guidance at the beginning of the week with some prompts to think about the thoughts and feelings about getting rid of stuff and like where was the angsty part? Where was the resistance? And what kind of thinking could you create that was very motivating for you and very self-compassionate? So the progress was outstanding. And it was the second or third time I've run it. And people really love it. And we love to talk about this stuff.
So the reason why I'm asking you was there a point where you would be live online and you were doing your thing in the kitchen and somebody else was doing their thing in the bedroom?
No, we didn't do that.
Okay. So the reason why I was asking you was because that that concept is called body doubling. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Okay, so this is something that they haven't yet been able to prove why this works, especially with people who have ADHD. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. So it's called body doubling, whereby you and another body, now the body could be behind a screen, okay? But it also, so it works in person or on the screen. You would be doing something, walking your dog, whatever it is that you have to do. And I would be doing something at the same time, organizing my junk drawer, whatever it is. And we would be doing those same things live at the same time. And the fact that we are not doing the same activity, but we're doing it and we're listening to each other, we're also potentially seeing each other through the screen if we're not in person. And it's the accountability. So like at the beginning, you say, I'm going to go, take care of my dog. And I say, I'm going to go take care of my junk drawer. And then at the end, we come back together after an hour and you say what you did and I say what I did. So it's giving people this dopamine that they're getting in their brains because they're not doing something alone. So it's not boring, it makes it a little bit more exciting, but it's not so much dopamine and so much excitement that it's distracting. So this is why, for instance, why my daughter, when she was doing her homework, she either wanted to have music on, soft music. She wanted to be doing it with a friend. She wanted to be in the kitchen, any one of these. She wanted to be in the kitchen where I was. So again, it's like to have another body doubling, to have another body there is enough of a stimulation, but not a distraction to get things done.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing that.
So next time you do your challenge, you might want to think about integrating that actually into the challenge.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I would just need to prop up a little, I would just have to prop up the phone near the pile. That's all it would be. Yeah. Awesome. Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Robynne. This has been really interesting. Is there something you'd like to promote?
Oh, thank you for asking. Actually, yes, I guess you put a link there in the show
There will be. Yes, there will be a link in the show notes. Yeah.
Well, I've got a little freebie that's called ADHD Friendly Daily Planner. So if people want to reach out to me, they are welcome to. If they also want to reach out to me for a free 45-minute discovery call as well too, they're more than welcome to see if ADHD coaching is a good fit for them.
Robynne, thank you so much. That's so amazing. And if you're interested in following up with Robynne and accessing this ADHD friendly daily planner, head over to my website at www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for this episode. Thank you so much, Robynne. Super, super helpful stuff. I really appreciate the work that you're doing out there in the world. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I really enjoyed being interviewed by you. It was a lot of fun, and I love your podcast.
Thank you, Robynne. Take care.
Bye, Susie.
Okay, that's it for this episode. I don't know about you, but I couldn't wait to talk about this on the show because I am hearing about ADHD in so many casual conversations, and I didn't really know that much about it at all. Robynne did such a great job telling her story and explaining what it's like when you struggle with ADHD. And her journey, trusting her instinct and finding her passion, is just so inspiring. Also, remember, if you're overwhelmed by endless to-do lists and scattered thoughts, Robynne's offering a free daily focus sheet that will help you gently organize your day without pressure or perfection. This tool has enough structure to get you on track and the flexibility to make it your own. You can find this link in the show notes. As always, thank you so much for listening to the Women in the Middle show. Please remember to share it with your friends and other midlife gals that you know would get a lot out of it too. Being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be, and it's time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the happiness, excitement, joy, and fulfillment you crave. Remember, if you need coaching support for the changes you're excited to make in midlife, I'm here for you, and I offer group and private coaching. And if you're interested in adding a new mindfulness tool to your tool belt, you'll be fascinated by learning a mindful doodling practice where you simply notice your mind in real time while having fun. Before you know it, you've created a calming space to think and you've come home to yourself. No art skills needed either, so don't worry about that. To learn about the Midlife Doodle Think Club, you can get details at www.doodlethink.com. For show notes and links, go to susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 452. And you'll also see a link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the podcast places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.